Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Aggieville Alleycats podcast. Where come rain, shine, or anything between, we're here to deliver to you the Kansas State sporting news you so love. I'm Ace Edwards, right alongside
Connor Baltazar,
and welcome to one of the previews that we've ever had to do on the show in history, the Oklahoma State game, and just putting out all the cards on the table. This will be a short one. Because we try to focus on what a team does well. There are not many things that Oklahoma State does well as a football team, and that is just objectively speaking. So this will probably be significantly shorter than other previews we've done in the past. But you know what? Maybe that's for the best.
Yeah. Hopefully the game is as unnoteworthy as this preview is, because you're right. There's not a ton. Like, there's interesting things about this team, but there's not a lot of objectively good things about this team.
Yeah, I think that's the best way to describe it. And they're 1-8 on the year. Their one win came against UT Martin, 27-7. They have not beaten FBS opponents since September 14th of last year, and that was up against Tulsa. They lost to Tulsa this year, and they fired their head coach. They fired him long enough ago to where, they're not getting the interim coach bump that we've perhaps seen before. But yeah, we can just go through their numbers.
Yeah, might as well. They are 126th in yards per game, 130th in points per game, 102nd in third down percentage, which is actually better than KU's at 36.4%, 113th in the red zone at 77% scoring rate. Only 50% of those are touchdowns. So not a lot of, in fact, actually no good numbers there. Really scraping the bottom of the barrel in most statistical categories. Even points per game, they're fourth to last in the country. And points per game allowed, they're second to last in the country. And this might be a good time as well to mention that some advanced analytical models have Oklahoma State in the 150s amongst every single division of college football ranked against each other, which ranks about 700 teams. So 150, still, when you include everything below FBS, is without any context not bad. But then you consider that there are Division II schools that advanced analytical models considered to be better than Oklahoma State. So that's not what you want.
No,
as a college football team.
That is quite the opposite of what you want, actually. There's no real way around it. They are a statistically anemic offensive team. I mean, when you were looking at rankings and all of your rankings are in the triple digits, that's not good. That is not at all what you want. And it doesn't, like, there's nothing really to say. Like, if you go into watching their film, which, trust me, is an exercise that you certainly could do to yourself. If you go into that exercise, you're just going to find a lot of, okay, that doesn't work. That doesn't work. That doesn't work. And that is bordering on their entire offense is, that doesn't work. And it doesn't get too much better when you're looking at their play calling tendencies.
No, they run more than they pass it. And they have some of the same staples that we're kind of used to seeing in the running game. They run a lot of zone running with the occasional counter. And then I'll just take this next one as well. This is kind of related. In the passing game, they haven't really developed much outside of kind of their old staples, Oklahoma State, of a go ball, slant, and curl, which is most of their route tree. The slot receivers, they'll occasionally run outs or ins for some zone beating concepts, but really not a lot different going on here. I think a lot of the difference that really just comes down to personnel and coaching just kind of being a historic low Oklahoma State, at least for my lifetime.
Yeah, and this is a year of historic lows for them because I can't think of, at least in the time that I've thought about Oklahoma State, and I don't mean this to be an episode where, we just kind of dunk on Oklahoma State, because I kind of feel bad for them, because Oklahoma State, I feel, is sort of the closest blood brother that K-State has. So they obviously game week, all that goes out the window, but I feel like the schools and the fan bases have a pretty good friendship and a good relationship with one another. And I don't know, man, it just kind of makes me sad. And especially given they are borderline the same team in terms of schematics that they've been since this show started, with the exception of moving to a more 4-down front on defense. It's just that they never adapted to what college football was sort of moving towards, and they still haven't. So they're running the same offense from 2019 to 2021, and that was a great offense for those years. And now it's just not, and they don't have a Jaden Nixon or an Ollie Gordon to kind of bail them out in that regard.
Yeah, it's a rough state of affairs, personnel wise, for Oklahoma State. I mean, they have a handful of decent players, but for the most part, it's just not great. Like most of the talent that they had remaining left. Like I know one of their safeties, who was at one point like a fringe 5-star recruit, he transferred. I can't remember to what school, but it's an SEC school, and he's actually been having a pretty good season. I just can't recall his name off the top of my head. So it's a mostly talent deprived roster that they have right now. There's like still some like decent players that can make plays. It's not to say that they're like completely incapable of like doing anything. Like this is a team that is, despite some of its efforts, like at least somewhat conscious. Like there are players that are trying on this team. We've seen, K-State has seen worse teams, I think, in the last decade than this Oklahoma State team. But for a Power 4 school, the list of worst teams is concerningly short.
Yeah, this is almost certainly the worst team that we've probably faced this year. Honestly, I think North Dakota might be better.
I think they probably would be. North Dakota's been a top 25 school in the FCS. I think that North Dakota would probably beat this Oklahoma State team. South Dakota, in Bill Connolly's SP Plus, South Dakota is only 7 spots behind Oklahoma State right now. North Dakota is actually over 40 spots ahead of Oklahoma State. For reference, Oklahoma State in this list is ranked at 151st, which is the worst power conference school by 22 places, with the next closest being Stanford at 129. And then Harding is the D2 school that is ahead of Oklahoma State. Kutztown is 2 spots behind them. Ferris State, 6 spots behind them. It's not good.
No.
for Oklahoma State right now.
No, it's really not. And there really aren't many. You said it very well when you said that they have a bit of a talent deficiency, so much so that there's only, one player that we're going to cover by name that has a specific bullet point in this entire episode, and it's just because he's the quarterback. Because you could talk about Rodney Fields, you could talk about Freeman. What's his first name? Gavin.
Yeah.
Gavin Freeman. You could talk about both of them, but it would still be in the context of, everyone else around them they just can't come together and play well. So, Rodney Fields and Gavin Freeman are solid players. I actually think that good Lord, trying to combine the two. I think that Rodney Fields is a quietly underrated running back, but he's not Ollie Gordon, and that's what this team would need.
Yeah, they badly need someone with that level of talent on their offense, and it's really just not there. Sam Jackson, I do have a lot of respect for, because he has been put in the Cody Cook situation, or at least he had been until Zane Flores got back. But he was a receiver turned quarterback. Although he started his college career as a quarterback, he moved to receiver, and that's how he had been listed at Oklahoma State. And I think that's his primary position. But they had him playing quarterback against Texas Tech. Like that is not an enviable position for really any quarterback to begin with, but certainly not for a guy that thought he was going to be playing receiver coming into the season.
Yeah, no. And it's also worth noting that they have 4 or more quarterbacks who have attempted 10 or more passes. None of them have a completion percentage above 60%. And only 2 of them have a positive touchdown to interception ratio, and that is because they've thrown 1 touchdown and no picks each. It's bad. It's brutal.
Yeah, and one of those guys is Haas Haney, who was the starter coming into the season, and I think broke his foot in like the first half of the first game.
Yep.
And to be fair, they already weren't good without him, but he was certainly their best quarterback. Zane Flores, I think, could be a fine quarterback if he were in literally any other power conference situation but the one that he's currently in. But he's certainly not lifting the team up, I don't think. Like, other than he was, I think, actually had a fine game against KU. They schemed him a lot of high completion percentage throws. But KU's defense is also just terrible. So I think they kind of took advantage of that.
Yeah. And anyway, we can talk about Zane Flores.
Yeah. So he was a one-time K-State quarterback target. He was a high school recruit in the same class as Avery Johnson. He was kind of the backup target that K-State was working if Avery didn't work out. And his high school film, I do remember actually liking. It was pretty good. He had a good seam ball, and he actually still kind of has that in his arsenal. He worked that a couple times against KU in their loss. But just the personnel they have is not helping him, and he's also not really helping the personnel they have much. It's definitely not a season I'd be wanting to begin my collegiate starting career in. And it's been a rocky start, certainly, and not much of it's really his fault. Oklahoma State has him in a bad spot. They've really ruined him and his confidence, which, again, out of high school, he was a very confident quarterback, and that's one of his better traits. So really what's all that's left is kind of the husk of what used to be Zane Flores as a good quarterback. He can't really put his mechanics together at this point because he is so skittish, because he doesn't have receivers that he trusts, and he certainly doesn't have an offensive line that he trusts. And he's pressured on about a third of his dropbacks right now. That is blitzed on a 43% of his dropbacks as well. It's been a rough go for Zane Flores, to put it mildly, and that's with missing a pretty solid chunk of the season with an injury as well. So he's really kind of gutting it out right now, and credit to him. I think a lot of quarterbacks in his position wouldn't have even bothered coming back from that injury to continue playing, but credit to him, he's still playing. So
yeah, I don't think anyone would really blame him if he said, you know what, nah, I'm done. But he didn't do that, so credit to him. But yeah, his mechanics have gotten super, super, super messy with this squad just because he doesn't trust his offensive line, and I don't blame him really. But he is someone who's really wants to attack over the middle of the field, which isn't really conducive to sort of running for your life like he does the majority of the time. I mean, he doesn't have over 1,000 yards on the season. He's averaging about 5.5 yards per attempt. That's not good. And as we said, very little of it is his fault, because not only is he young, he got thrown into a really, really, really bad situation at Oklahoma State. But I mean, it's not getting better. And that is probably the most disappointing part of it. Because, I mean, even if you take the other pieces, like you look at Gavin Freeman, who is really good over the middle, but is not much in the way of a deep threat. That should be like a security blanket type guy for someone like Zane Flores. He's just not. And it's quite simply because no one else around him is good enough to warrant not bracketing Freeman. And even Rodney Fields, even though I think he's underrated, this offensive line isn't doing them any favors whatsoever. I mean, if you look at it, if you just look at the pure blocking snaps, Oklahoma State has one of the worst offensive lines in Power 4 football. And I don't know, man. It's just, I don't expect anyone to really succeed in that situation.
yeah, and I think that's fair to have that expectation. I mean, the offensive line, this team combined, they've allowed 61 pressures, and that's not including just like completely like whiffed or like just missed assignments. Like it's entirely like lost matchups. So it's a yeah, like I've said plenty of superlatives already about this Oklahoma State team, but I mean they're not very good. Like and there's really, like, other than I guess Rodney Fields and potentially Zane Flores, there's not a lot of redeemable parts of this offense either. I think Noah McKinney could be a decent interior offensive lineman in a better offense. Like I think he's drawing some Power 4 interest because he's like preemptively in the portal but still playing. So much credit to him, I guess, on that at least he's still playing and not sitting out. But I mean, yeah, like especially run blocking, this team is really bad. But which I guess also speaks to, maybe Rodney Fields being very, very, very talented more than we might think. But yeah, it's a rough state of affairs down Stillwater.
Yeah, that's the offensive side of the ball, where it basically boils down to not good, and then you get to the defensive side of the ball, which somehow might be worse, and that is saying something.
Yeah, they are really in a bad way defensively. They've given up 38 or more points this year in every game except for UT Martin and Tulsa. And some more stats. They're 128th in yards per game, 133rd in points per game, 130th in third down percentage at 49%, and 127th in red zone scoring percentage. They're allowing scores 94% of the time, and nearly 80% of those have been touchdowns, which is very, very, very bad. That's like one of the more, I think, shocking numbers from them is like they kind of are the epitome of bend and break defense. Like they are allowing a lot of red zone possessions, and they are kind of giving up once they get down there as well.
Yeah, and we just call that bad defense because I think if memory serves, they're also surrendering some of the highest red zone possessions as well. I think they've had either 33 or 34 red zone possessions on the year, which is really, really bad, especially whenever you're giving up touchdowns at such a high rate. And a big reason for that is, well, they're not doing anything special. They're moved to the same defense that everyone runs, but they're just not executing it well. Because like there's a way to take a mediocre scheme, which is what I think Oklahoma State has, is a mediocre scheme on paper, and make it fine just in terms of execution. No, they have a mediocre scheme with really bad execution.
Yeah, they're really struggling in pass coverage this year. Only 3 interceptions, only 8 total turnovers. They do have 5 fumble recoveries on 5 forced fumbles, but fumbles are, unless you're Texas Tech, a little bit of a dubious stat. I mean, Texas Tech is actually just really good at forcing fumbles, but that's like they're uniquely good at it, or more particularly, Jacob Rodriguez is uniquely good at forcing fumbles. Otherwise, for most teams, it is more of a kind of a coin flip situation for forcing fumbles. So not as big a factor as maybe interceptions or passes defended. But Oklahoma State, not in a good way. They're not a very good tackling team either. Some of their players that have played the most snaps are not great on that front. There's a few players that have solid PFF tackling grades, but they have a number of starters or high snap players that are very bad at tackling as well. And then a lot of those players, they're not generating a lot of havoc either. Only 16 sacks on the year, only 3 picks. Ace, like you said, 4-2 hybrid team. They sometimes play true 4-2, but it's this defense is not great.
No, they're really not. And if you're looking for the best pieces of this defense, you're probably talking about Brandon Rawls, who's kind of their linebacker / hybrid player that they have. He's number 6. This is his first year in Division I. I believe he's a senior. He's a linebacker, but he occasionally plays hybrid. Outside of him, I mean, you're stretching if you look at someone like a Wendell Gregory, who, had an elite game up against Arizona, and he's a transfer from South Carolina. But even then, you are stretching if you're kind of including them. And it's not because I think they're these like irredeemably bad players. It's just that no one really sticks out on this team. And I think that's just because no one on this team is playing together in a way. I know that's a cliche, but defense, much more than offense, is so much more reliant on everyone being on the exact same page at the exact same time, and no one on this defense is.
Yeah, there's like individually like some intriguing players on this defense, but honestly, this defense is kind of similar to some of the KU defenses of the last few years. really of like the last 10 to 15 years, where like individually you look around their defenses and like there are some like pretty solid players, but with a handful of exceptions the last couple years, not so much this year. Like KU defenses didn't really play well together, and so as a unit, like they were really bad, even if there were like some solid players. I mean, Dorrance Armstrong, like he was a really good player for KU, but as a unit, like they were bad. Like Hassan Defense was a good safety for
Kenny
that.
Logan.
Yeah, Kenny Logan is probably like the benchmark for that. Kenny Logan was a great player individually, but all the defenses he was on were trash. So it didn't really matter. This Oklahoma State team is really similar and is probably one of the worst versions of that too.
Yeah. And all of this kind of goes down to the last bullet point that we have for the scouting report, which, yes, we told you that this would be short because what is there to say?
Yeah. One of the biggest problems they've had this year, it's related more to the type of coverage that they play, which is that they want to try and play more match coverage, but they do not have the cohesion to do that. So they're kind of forced into an uncomfortable situation where they're either playing true like spot drop zone and just get dotted up, or they try to man guys up in an era where man coverage is more difficult than it's ever been. So they choose option 3, which they just stick to match coverages, and they are just constantly dealing with bus and coverage because, like we've said it before on this show, match coverage can really work when you have a great defense, but if it's not working, it's just a disaster. Like match coverage, you have to have smart players and committed players for, and I'm sure that like they have smart players, but the commitment and the team cohesion is just not there to be running match, and they are choosing to do it anyways.
Yeah, and I mean, even when they had better players, you remember the year that they were ranked and they came into K-State and then immediately just got blasted by. Yeah, even then they had the same issue of they just can't communicate with one another. They've had really, really bad communication. And I would say even looking back on the film for the game where we lost to Oklahoma State, was that 2 years ago?
Yeah, 2 years ago.
Oh, it might have been last year. I don't know.
No, we beat them last year. We beat them.
Yeah, because I was in Manhattan. You're right. Good Lord, all the years blend together. But they had communication issues then. What happens when I think they fired their DC, and if they didn't, they probably should have.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, because I mean, they had
Nardo.
I was thinking of the guy, Jim Knowles. They had, and then they had Derek Mason for a bit, former Vanderbilt head coach, but I think he was only there a year. I don't know who is there right now, though. Yeah,
Brian Nardo is no longer at Oklahoma State. He is now he's the safeties coach at Charlotte.
Interesting.
So I have no idea who their DC is, but he hasn't solved the communication issues. In fact, they've gotten worse.
To be fair, I think they had a pretty big staff shakeup as well after Gundy was fired. So they may not even know who their defensive coordinator is.
They're just playing on vibes.
That would explain a lot.
Yeah, I don't know, man. That's all I really have to say about Oklahoma State. And from the way that we've been talking about them, you should probably guess that we're projecting a win for K-State. In fact, I think that it would be horrendously alarming if this is not a 3-possession plus game.
I am right there with you. Like I don't really have a specific score projection because I feel like it'd be kind of tough for this game just because I'm not really sure what we're going to be at, especially with Austin Romaine out for the year. JB Bradley's not going to be available this week. And we're kind of coming off of a major downturn, losing Dylan Edwards, of course. So we're definitely in a precarious spot of our own, but I do fully expect that we win this game comfortably. And if we don't, I will be really, really concerned and probably upset. If we lose this game, like, I genuinely do not want climbing back, even if we go and beat Utah by like 90. Like, by losing this game would be completely unacceptable, like in like any context.
I'm terrified of Stillwater Devil Magic, and if K-State is not capable of beating this team in Stillwater, Kleiman is not capable of winning in Stillwater. It's that simple.
Yeah, I think I'm right there with you. This is not a good Oklahoma State team. In the past, like, we feel like we've jinxed it. This year, if like we lose, it's not going to be because we said this Oklahoma State team is bad, because that's just objectively true this year. And I think the only people that wouldn't say that are in the locker room for Oklahoma State right now. I think their fans all believe it. Like, you could probably find a few people that would say it in their locker room too. Like, it's.
I think you might get more people who pull the Cam Ward. If we keep it a buck right now, we ass.
Yeah. So, I don't know. We really need to handle this game. This is probably the single biggest gift of a game for this point of the season and how the year's gone that you could possibly ask for. I mean, obviously, no matter what happens the rest of the year for K-State, the whole year's been a disappointment, and that's going to remain true. Even if we went out and blow out our opponent in the bowl game, the season will still go down as a disappointment. Even if, like, if that happened, I'd be happy, and there'd be like some high notes to like kind of write off the season with. But like, the goal was make it to Arlington. That's just not going to happen at this point. I think mathematically there's still like the slimmest of slim chances, but that's just not going to happen. Like that ship has sailed effectively. So we need to take out our frustrations on a Division II school, basically. Like, and I take no pleasure in saying that either. Like, if it was literally anyone else, I'd take some pleasure in it, but it is a little sad. Like, at least their fans are kind of taking it in stride, and their basketball team seems to be better this year. Like, I think that they're going to have a good year in basketball. So, I don't know, tough it out, Pokes. It's only like another 3 weeks for you guys, and then you can have a new coach. And hopefully,
it better not be Colin Klein. I will be upset.
Yeah. This friendship is over if it is Colin Klein. So, unless you're willing to give him back after like a 1-year rental, which, if that's the case, then fair play, but you're not allowed to win next year against us.
Yeah, I think it's also worth noting that you mentioned Dylan Edwards is gone. Fine, whatever. Austin Romaine, done for the year. I think that could be a situation where the coaches may have said, listen, there's no need for you to hurt yourself more in a season that is essentially lost. I don't think that Austin Romaine is the type of guy to make business decisions for himself. I think that he was told, like, listen, even if you go to the draft this year, you don't want to hurt yourself any more than you already have. So, I mean, fine.
Yeah, I think you're onto something there with Romaine. Like, he's obviously been playing through a significant injury to his hand or wrist for the last few games. And he had his best game of the year by a long shot against Texas Tech, which is really a shame because everyone else decided not to show up except for the injured guy. And but that was still when we had a slim but clear path to the Big 12 championship game. At this point, that's not going to happen. So yeah, I think you're right. Like, with a guy as talented as Austin Romaine, like, he was already kind of on the border of not being able to play anyways, but just kind of gritting his teeth and getting through it. Like, there's no reason for him to like risk his long-term future for a team that will ultimately go down as a disappointment, I think. And he may even want to, but like, that's just probably not in his best interest. Frankly, it's probably not the team's best interest at this point either, because like he was very wishy-washy while playing injured. Like Tech was a great game, but he was really bad against KU. And it was also because of that injury. He just wasn't tackling well. So it's a double-edged sword there, but still you got to applaud his effort and trying to show up for the team regardless. But at least we'll get to see some more Asa Newsome. I think he's been looking better the last couple weeks, kind of back to what we were hoping for. So I'm hoping that he can have a big week this week, because Asa, he's been bitten by the injury bug in one of the worst ways that we've seen since we started this show. So I'm hopeful that he can finally string together a few positive games as being a starter.
Yeah. I also think there's a decent chance that we see someone like Darian Whitaker sort of get into the linebacking rotation.
I'd love to see that too, because we're at a point where he could play in redshirt, because I don't think he's actually played this year. And he was someone throughout the offseason, I think, that was kind of seen as a true freshman that had a chance at playing. But he dealt with some injuries. He was on the injury report there for a bit. So, yeah, this would be a great time to unleash him, secure bowl eligibility. I still want to win games. Like, I'm obviously disappointed with how the season's gone, but I'm still going to watch, and I still want us to win. Like, and I also am going to be really interested to see like who's trying and who's not. And then I guess we'll see how that goes. But
here's a finale question for you: who wins, this Oklahoma State team or back half 2020 K-State?
I think back half 2020 K-State wins. I honestly don't think it would be close. I think there's nobody on Oklahoma State's team in the same universe as freshman Deuce Vaughn. Like, I really don't think that they would have been able to stop him. I mean, I think back to kind of that Baylor game where we probably should have won. But that Baylor team, I think, was better than this Oklahoma State team. Like, so I think that 2020 K-State team probably wins, honestly.
I think, honestly, they might win just on the back of Briley Moore and Deuce Vaughn. Like, you could literally have Nick Ost at quarterback, and I think that those two would probably still win.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. I mean, I don't like thinking about that team very much, or at least the back half of the year. But yeah, I do think that COVID team would win. I thought you were going to ask about the COVID KU Jayhawks, which in that case, like, I think Oklahoma State like sweeps, like, because I mean Oklahoma State's coaching is bad, their players are not good, but they're at least trying, and their coaches are at least conscious. So I think that's the difference maker. But that would certainly be a fun one.
Yeah. Anyway, do you have any final notes before we sign off?
No, nothing else from me.
All right. Well, if that's the case, thank you all for listening to this episode of the Aggieville Alleycats podcast. If you want to follow or contact the show, you can follow us just about anywhere at Aggieville Alleycats. And if you want to email us, we're aggievillealleycats@gmail.com. If you want to follow us on a more personal note, I am at ACEdwards00.
I am at Connor Bouncelor, capital C, capital B.
And if you want to support the show financially, please be sure to check out the official Aggieville Alleycats merch store, link found in our podcast and Twitter bio. But most importantly, thank you all for listening to this episode of the Aggieville Alleycats podcast. For come rain, shine, or anything in between, we're here to deliver to you the Kansas State sporting news that you so love. Stay safe, Alleycats.